in order to build that foundation as human beings, to repair those cracks so that we can move forward in a good way, is to address all the stuff that happened in our past. And one of the hardest things to do is to forgive. Forgive ourselves, forgive others who have wronged us. This is one of the most challenging things. And I want to share with you a story on a personal journey that I had to go through so I can get to the next step in my journey. I want you picturing yourself, what you've gone through, and maybe places where you have to go revisit so that you can move forward and advance yourself, your family, your career to where you were meant to go. As a child, I grew up with one parent, my mother. My mother did the best she could with what she had. She sacrificed a lot for myself, my siblings. We ended up in women's shelters. We were struggling. We didn't have a place to live until my grandmother, my kukum, took us in. And we lived with her for a long time until we finally got a little 2-bedroom house on the reserve in Sweetgrass. During that time, my mother did the best she could with what she had, sacrificed her own comfort for myself, my 3 younger sisters. She slept on the couch. I had a room. My sisters all shared a room, and that's how we were living. We grew up on welfare, social assistance. We collected cans and bottles. We went to the pawn shop to pawn our belongings so we can have lunch to go to school. Our only transportation was the bus to and from school. We never had transportation. So there's a lot of things that a lot of my Indigenous brothers and sisters face to this day that we had to go through way back then. As a child, I had a lot of issues towards my own father because I longed for a father to be there in my life growing up. As time progressed and I became a young man, I started to have resentment towards my own father. As time progressed even further and I started to have success as a university student, as an athlete, and eventually starting Nietzsche gear, suddenly there was people that were paying attention to my journey, and people were starting to ask for advice, for mentorship and so on. And so I did the best with what I could. And then I hit a wall. That wall came when I started to launch my first book, Driven to Succeed. When that book came out, I didn't realize it was going to create a lot of ripple effects, positive, but also a few that were negative. And what it did is it exposed some of the cracks in my own foundation. One of those cracks was the relationship with my father. I had to go back and to fix that. Now, this is a tough part to speak about because some of us, there's people in our life that have really wronged us, and we may say to ourselves, well, I can never forgive that person. I can never let go of that. Here's what I could tell you based on everything that I've been taught, everything from elders, from professionals and so on, and even being in counseling myself. If we don't remove that burden of not being able to forgive people, we do that for ourselves. That's the first thing. We do it for ourselves, not to please people. When you forgive other people, you do that for yourself so you can remove that weight from your backpack, so to speak, so you can feel later, so you can move forward without that having to hold you hostage anymore. If someone's still alive, I encourage you to do what you can to forgive and move on from whatever that person wronged you for. If someone has passed, here's another exercise I was taught. If someone has passed and they've wronged you, I know people that have actually written notes on a piece of paper, and they'll actually either throw them away or they will burn them. And to say that I forgive you, and with the stuff that I went through with you is no longer going to hold me hostage when I move forward to the next spot in my life that I was meant to go through. So forgiveness is one of the toughest things. I remember going as an entrepreneur. I've had staff members that, some of them would talk to me about their challenges in their life. And so I remember one in particular, she had someone that she couldn't forgive. And no matter what she did, she's like, I can never forgive that person. And I watched this person literally suffering because she was not able to move on from a certain scenario that happened to her, someone that wronged her. And slowly, piece by piece, it really was breaking her down. I watched her go from a top performer to a mediocre performer. It was tough to watch. If we do this thing called forgiving other people so we can move forward, not to appease people. So back to my father's story. I had to go back and have a sit down with my own father and say, you know what, Dad, I forgive you. I forgive you for not being there with me. I forgive you for not being there with my siblings. I wanted you there, but now I'm a man. Now going back to the resilience part, overcoming obstacles. There's always a teaching moment in everything. And I told my father that I know why I was not meant to have a father and be in my presence all the time. Because look at me now, I said. There's people all across this country that look up to me as a role model. And I had to become that father that I wish I had. Now I have 2 children. I had to become that husband that I didn't know how to become. I had to act as if I knew who that person was. And I had to go through my own struggles in trying to be that person for my wife so that we can all come together as a healthy family. We went through our struggles. And I had to go through counseling, relationship counseling, coaching, mentorship, and all this type of stuff because I wanted to get to the next step. But one of the hardest things that really held me back was I didn't know how to forgive. I didn't know how to forgive people. My kukum, the one who I talked to you about, she taught me this lesson growing up. When I was in grade 1, we were living with her on her living room floor. So every day we fix our beds and make them up in the evenings in the living room on the floor. That's where we stayed. During the day, there'd be people that would come off the res road and they would come to my kukum's house to visit her. When they'd be visiting her, one of the things that I noticed was that some of these people were positive, but there was many that weren't so positive, or some of them were very negative. And I used to wonder as a kid, why does my kukum put up with this? Why does she allow this to happen all the time? Why does she put herself through this? And as time progressed, and I'm in the future now, I have my own stores, and I'm behind the till, and there's people like that coming into my store, people who are positive, people who are negative, coming to waste your time, to test you. And I thought, man, I know the teaching now. It just hit me. It was like almost 20 years later. She was teaching me how to forgive people the moment they walk into a room, regardless of what they say to you, regardless of what comes out of their mouth, to forgive them. Because those people that wrong you, those people that are testing you, they're going through stuff, not you. They're coming in a way they don't know how to communicate and move on from that stuff. So if they come across your path, they're going to try to dump what they can on you. And they may even love you as a person, but they don't know how to do this in a healthy way. You see, when people walk into a room, they're going to either come in with a good energy or a not so good energy. You'll know that. You know when you want to stay in a room or leave a room based on how it feels. So the next time someone comes into your presence and whatever comes out of their mouth, positive or negative, only accept the positive. You do not have to choose to allow the negativity of other people, the news, social media, to absorb into your livelihood. You don't have to give yourself permission, because we as human beings give other people permission to allow them to speak to us a certain way. When someone speaks, we give ourselves permission to absorb that or not. So I want to encourage you that when someone walks into a room or you walk into a room, forgive people on the fly. They may be going through a tough time. Sometimes we have to leave negativity in the past. Sometimes we are told things about this world that we have to leave in the past because the future doesn't operate that way. We all know people, you all know who I'm talking about. Sometimes they're close relatives, sometimes they're friends, sometimes they're coworkers. I've had a chance to work with a lot of people, world-class entrepreneurs, world-class speakers, world-class CEOs. There's one thing in common. In order to get somewhere, in order to achieve a certain different level that you're trying to achieve, you have to change and you have to learn accordingly. You have to leave negativity in the past. You have to forgive. You have to work on yourself. My kukum didn't speak English. She only spoke Cree. So we'd have to speak in broken Cree and English to converse with each other because I wasn't fluent back then. And one of the things I noticed that she would do is she was a very highly gifted person. What I mean by this is sometimes people will come into your life and they'll gravitate towards you. They want to be around your presence because there's an energy about you. Some call them healers, doctors, medical professionals. In our culture, we have the same people. I didn't know Makukam was one of them. So people came off the reserve road, went to her place. She would stop everything she was doing, give them tea, whatever food that she had, she would feed them, and she'd sit there across the table from them and listen to them. They would talk to her. All she would do is nod, listen, listen. She wouldn't say much. And I noticed as a kid, 6 years old, playing in the living room, I used to overhear the conversations. And I realized like a lot of these people were going through things. They were going through a lot of challenges. And I used to ask myself, why does she put herself through this? Until 20 years in the future happened. I have my clothing company in Saskatoon. I have my own retail stores. I'm behind the till. I have people coming off the street in the mall coming to buy stuff from us. I have people who are positive. I have people that are going through stuff coming to buy. And they start talking. And suddenly it hit me. Light bulb moment. My Kukam had already passed at this time in my 20s. And it all came in one moment. I want to share this with you. She was trying to teach me to forgive people the moment they walk through a door and they come to see you. She was trying to help me to forgive people on the fly.